Okay, today we're going to focus on the linebacker situation for BYU for 2010 as the Cougars go through spring practice. And we're going to focus today on the outside linebacker positions. And we're going to have a future report on the inside backer situation at BYU. But right now what we want to talk about is the weak side. That side is nailed down as far as the starter is concerned by Jordan Pendleton. Jordan, of course, making the successful transition to linebacker last year and just had an immediate impact on the field. One of the most athletic linebackers that we've had here at BYU in quite some time, and a guy who's now a junior. And over the next 2 seasons, I expect Jordan Pendleton will go down in history as one of the best linebackers to ever play at BYU, and a guy who I think has real NFL caliber talent. So we expect him to obviously have that weak side linebacker situation nailed down. On the strong side, we're going to go with another Jordan, and that's Jordan Atkinson. He's the starter right now in spring ball, and I suspect that he's going to get a battle from Kyle Van Noy before all is said and done. But Atkinson is a senior. He's a junior college transfer. He came in and was a contributor last season. He played in all 13 games, had 5 or 6 tackles, and now is the time for him to step up. Now, the interesting thing about Jordan is a lot of people ask, he's 6'3", 243 pounds. So the question is, can he move to the inside where there's some thinness this year for BYU? We're going to talk about that in our next report at the inside linebacker position. Given his size at 243 pounds, you would logically think that Jordan could play inside. But the way he plays and his style and his ability on the edge, he really is an outside linebacker, so he's going to be on that strong side for BYU. And I suspect that he's going to be a real contributor, and you're going to see a real step up from what he did last year. Now, that said, he's going to be pushed by Kyle Van Noy, assuming that Kyle can keep his nose clean. He's right now serving a suspension. I suspect he'll probably be back tomorrow or Friday, back on the practice field. Speaking of Van Noy, here's a young man. He's 6'4". He's listed at 209, but I think that goes back to his days as a junior in high school. Looking at him on the field, I would say he's probably about 225, maybe even 230. And when you see Kyle, you immediately, here's another guy that you see NFL caliber talent written all over in terms of his athleticism, and the sky is the limit. I have some concerns, obviously because of his legal issues, the fact that he sat out last year because of his DUI, and the fact that he's come to spring ball and now got himself suspended. So apparently it's not a serious situation, but serious enough that the coaching staff wanted him to have some opportunity to think about his actions and his behaviors. And if he can get that part of being a BYU football player under control, the sky is the limit for Kyle. I expect, again, if he does get his act together, which I expect him to, he will push for that starting strong side, and he's somebody that can also play on the weak side. So those are your 3 guys right now for the outside that I really look as being starters and seeing a lot of time on the field. Masi Tuitama is another guy, about 6'2", 220, somewhere in that ballpark, coming in now as a sophomore. He may make some contributions this year as well. Some other guys to look at, Jamison Frazier, who's been moved from defensive back to linebacker, maybe a little undersized, and then Matt Santos, who's a walk-on from New York, Montgomery, New York. He's an interesting prospect, about 6'3", 215, so not real heavy, a little light. Another guy that's I'm intrigued to see come back from a mission, Austin Jorgensen. I'm not sure if he's going to be looked at as an inside guy or on the outside, but a guy that goes about 6'3", 230. He'll be coming home from his mission. And then a guy coming in as a true freshman that we've talked about already as a possible D-line prospect, and that's Alani Fua, who could be an outside linebacker prospect, and was listed as that, being recruited as he signed this past February. Very athletic, and he has genes that might tell you that he's going to put on some weight and get bigger, and so we probably eventually see him on the defensive line. His brother plays on the defensive line at at Stanford. So, given just looking at his dad and his brother, Alani's probably going to put on some weight and fill out over time and probably end up on the defensive line. But as a freshman, a guy who could come in and one of those few freshmen that could make an impact would be Alani Fua if something were to happen to the first three that we've talked about. So that's a look at your outside linebackers. I really do think that the defense is going to change a little bit for BYU. Not so much playing off, I think, with the experience that the front seven is going to have behind them in the defensive secondary, and I think with some of the success that you saw with the Cougars playing some pressure against Oregon State late in the season. Early in the season they had some success with that. And blitzing and bringing some pressure against Oklahoma. And so I think you're going to actually see BYU be a lot more aggressive on defense. And a lot of that has to do with an upgrade in athleticism, at the ability to put pressure on the quarterback at the D-line and at the linebacker position, especially the outside linebacker position in 2010.